Hello everyone and bonjour! Welcome aboard! Today we have a special guest! And with our little friend right here, I'm gonna build a weapon and a shield from the game Tales of Iron. And if you don't know the game Tales of Iron, it's a really cool game where you play as a brave little rat fighting off a bunch of frog invaders. Which makes this little guy right here the enemy? No! So since I'm not a rat and I'm not a human, I'm not a rat and I'm a human, I swear, a weapon that small would look ridiculous in my hands, so I'll make it somewhere in between, like, you know, those little monsters, what do we call them again? Oh, right, kids. I'm gonna make it kid-sized. Alright, now I've got to decide which weapon to make. A sword? An axe? A sword? An axe? Okay, let's go with the axe. Less talking and more crafting. Let's go! And finally I go with the sword. So for reference, I choose this shield and this sword because I think they look really cool. So the next step is to make some boom! Paper templates. Hand drawn, of course. So which one do I start with? The sword? The shield? Sword? Shield?
Oh,
sword?
come on, not this again. Just pick one.
Alright. So I start with the shield.
So, inside the shield, I'm going to put these two pieces of wood to make it a bit heavier and keep it from bending. To start with the base, I first had to cut out some low density EVA foam pieces. Then I made a cut in the foam to fit the wooden rod. Quick fit test, yeah, still fits. Then I placed my paper template to draw the right shape. And then I cut off the extra foam. Once that's done, here's what it looks like. Then I started the carving work. And of course, I made sure to wear my respirator. And because foam dust isn't the only danger, like this sanding bit that exploded off camera and almost took out my eye, wear your goggles! Once everything is sculpted, it's time to glue it all together. But first, congratulations to me for not getting covered in foam dust. I started by filling the bottom slots with hot glue. Then I placed my wooden rods in them.
It's starting to look like something.
And because I didn't wear my respirator while using contact cement, it could cause some serious damage, something like, oh yeah, death. Look at this moron holding his breath. Your respirator is right next to you. Put it on! Next, I cut out two foam pieces and put them in place using my template as a guide. Then I textured them to give a distressed metal look. I glued some foam rivets. Making foam rivets is really easy. I use these molds, put a small ball of foam clay inside, and that's it.
Now that all the rivets are glued on, it's time to add a little bit of battle damage.
Not too much, but just enough to say, hey, I've been in a fight with frogs. I applied some Mod Podge to add a bit of more texture. And I added some Mod Podge mixed with baking soda in a few spots to create a grainy effect.
So now the front of the shield is done. And since I have no clue of what the back is supposed to look like, I think I'll just let my imagination take over. I probably keep it simple.
So I made this belt off camera as well as this handle, both out of high density EVA foam. I marked the position of the handle. Then I made 2 holes in the foam to fit it properly.
Hello? Who's this?
Who's this? I hear you breathe in.
What the frog?
Stop calling this house!
Stop calling me! Now that all the pieces are done, no, I'm gonna add a coat of Plastidip as a primer.
Once that's done, it's time to move on to the paint job!
I think the result is pretty convincing. For the top part of the shield, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at here. Maybe some kind of fur or wooden splinters. I think fur will give a more interesting texture than whatever this is.
So I made this homemade fur, but I won't show you how I did it. Maybe one day, if it's requested, I could do a tips and tricks video. Then I brushed the fur with my doggo's brush. I'm sure he won't mind. I miss you so much, buddy. I'm pretty sure you weren't supposed to see that. Then I added some shading with my airbrush. I prepared the fur for the shield and glued it on. Then I gave it another good brush. Gotta keep the shield looking fresh before heading to the battlefield, right? And because I like logic in my props, I prepared some extra rivets that I'm going to put into the fur. Now it makes sense. Ta-da! One last brush to make the rivets less noticeable, and that's it. And because I also like my props to tell stories, I added these little numbers on the back to show my frog body count.
No, I can't say that. It sounds too weird.
We all know you're weird. That's a lot of frogs. I glued the handle, then the belt. Then I stapled it to the wooden stick inside and covered the staple with the rivets. Now it's strong.
Now let's make the sword. Well, actually, it's not really a sword. In the game, it's a spear, and to be more precise, it's a jousting lance. In French, we call it une lance de joute. But I have no idea when you would say that. Wanna see my joust? No! It's not what you think!
Well, to start with the blade part, I used this cheap tool to cut around 60 foam discs.
Now that I'm done with the circles, my foam looks like this!
Warning, the following scene may be disturbing for people with trypophobia.
What? It's behind me, right? I was scared for a moment.
Once I've cut all my discs, it's time to glue them all together to form the different parts of the blade. 1, 2, 3, frog! I can't explain what I'm doing here because I have no idea myself, but watch closely and you'll get the idea. Of course, don't forget the respirator.
Sir, are you okay?
No, I am your father.
Daddy!
Then I covered the piece with a 2mm foam layer and glued all the segments together. I spare you the math I had to do to get that weird cone shape because, oh my tadpole, I hate math! Ah! I added a bit of filler to hide the foam seams, and if you are wondering why the tip is black, it's just because I messed up. So I redid it by hand with some foam clay. After 24 hours of drying, I sanded the filler down to make everything smooth.
This looks so much better than I expected. Ow.
For this part and this one, I just made a foam tube. Then I just kept layering it up to get the thickness I wanted. I roughly shaped it. Then I wrapped a strip of foam around it. here's the result for both parts. To give it a leather-like look, I heated the foam and beat it with a stone. Yep. For this part, I made a foam donut, leaving 2 spaces for the top and bottom parts of the weapon. The bottom part might seem tricky, making a perfect foam ring to match the pattern can be intimidating. So for that, I'm using a foam dowel, and now I just need something thin enough to wrap it around.
Like this wooden rod I saved earlier?
After getting the right size, I glued it and I repeated the same for the part just above. If you watched the whole video, you know what I'm doing here. After finishing all the parts, I covered them with Plastidip before moving on to the paint job! For the leather parts, I did it the same way as for the shield belt, except for one step. This one.
It's time to add the enemy's blood. There's a better way to do this.
First, pour some paint. Then grab your paintbrush and dip it into the paint. And calmly say these 2 words.
Oh guys, I'm so ready. Before taking a closer look at the final result, it's time to fight. Are you ready? Did you forget I'm French? I eat frogs for breakfast. Oh. I mean, en garde! No! My head!
You understand nothing to the fashion.